So today we are going to study about the formation of urine or physiology of kidney. Clear? The urine forms inside kidney or nephron by three separate processes, which are as follows. First, glomerular filtration, or you can say ultrafiltration. Second, selective reabsorption. And third is tubular secretion. So now all of us, the ultrafiltration. Or glomerular filtration. All of you know that the diameter of afferent arteriole and efferent arteriole is different. Afferent arteriole is broad, large. The diameter of afferent arteriole is large or broad, and diameter of efferent arteriole is narrower. This is afferent arteriole and this is efferent arteriole. Clear? And due to the difference in the diameter of afferent and efferent arteriole, blood pressure increases in glomerulus. This is glomerulus and Bowman's capsule. So due to the difference in the diameter of afferent and efferent arteriole, a pressure develops. Which pressure? The blood pressure becomes very high. in the glomerulus. Blood pressure becomes very high. Due to which filtration occurs through the semi-permeable membrane in the capillaries of glomerulus continuous. Thus, water and many dissolved substances from blood are filtered in the lumen of Bowman's capsule. So in this filtrate, that is called the glomerular filtrate. So in this filtrate, large amount of water dissolved substances such as urea, uric acid, creatinine, amino acids, glucose, sodium, potassium, vitamins, etc. are present. Blood comes inside the glomerulus or inside the Bowman's capsule through the afferent arteriole and then passes outside through the efferent arteriole. This glomerular filtrate is similar to the blood plasma. But this filter does not have protein, which is absent in this glomerular filtrate. Glomerular filtrate have no proteins, while blood plasma has protein and fats. Clear? So once more, again, I will explain that the ultrafiltration or glomerular filtration, the diameter of afferent arteriole and efferent arteriole is different. Afferent arteriole is large. The diameter of the afferent arteriole is larger than the diameter of efferent arteriole. Efferent arteriole is narrower and it is broader or larger. Afferent arteriole brings blood inside the Bowman's capsule, but it passes outside less blood, and due to which blood pressure increases, which is very high, and due to this high blood pressure, filtration occurs. And therefore, this filtration is known as ultrafiltration. This filtration takes place through the semi-permeable membrane into the lumen of Bowman's capsule. Into the lumens of Bowman's capsule. Water and many dissolved substances are filtered. In this filtration or this filtrate substances is known as glomerular filtrate, which contains large amount of water, dissolved substances such as urea, uric acid, creatinine, amino acids, glucose, sodium, potassium, vitamins, etc. But in this filtrate, protein and fats are absent. Glomerular filtrate is similar to the blood plasma. Only different is there. In blood plasma, protein and fats are present, but in glomerular filtrate, proteins and fats are absent. Now next is selective reabsorption. Selective reabsorption. The glomerular filtrate enters into the proximal convoluted tubule of nephron from the Bowman's capsule. Absorption of selected materials occurs from the filtrate into the blood. So this process is known as selective reabsorption. That means glomerular filtrate from the Bowman's capsule enters into the proximal convoluted tubule of nephron from the Bowman's capsule. And some substances, it contains many substances, so some substances are reabsorbed by the blood. Not all. That means selected materials or selected substances are absorbed again by the blood. And so this is known as selective reabsorption. Reabsorption occurs by two processes: passive and transport. Across the tubular epithelium. Glomerular filtrate is isotonic. Isotonic, the amount of water and amount of the dissolved substances are equal. So the glomerular filtrate is isotonic to the blood plasma. But dissimilar is not having proteins and fats. Selective reabsorption occurs in parts of nephron. Following parts of nephron. First, in proximal convoluted tubule. Second, in descending limb of Henle's loop. Third, in ascending limb of Henle's loop. Fourth, in distal convoluted convoluted tubules. DCT and proximal PCT. And fifth is the in collecting tubule and collecting ducts. So this selective reabsorption occurs in the following parts of the nephron. In the proximal convoluted tubules, in the descending limb of Henle's loop, in ascending limb of Henle's loop, in distal convoluted tubules, and in collecting tubules and collecting ducts. So all of first, in proximal convoluted tubule, 65 to 80% of the filtrate is reabsorbed. In proximal convoluted tubule, in which approximately two-thirds of filtrate water is reabsorbed. So 65 to 80% of the filtrate is reabsorbed here, proximal convoluted tubule. And among water, two-thirds water of the filtrate is reabsorbed here. Solutes like glucose, amino acids, vitamins, keto bodies, acetic, uric acid, chlorides, sodium, potassium, phosphate, etc. of the filtrate are reabsorbed into the blood by diffusion. And all of you know the diffusion from higher to lower. The movement of the molecules from higher concentration region to the lower concentration. So in the filtrate, the percentage of these substances are higher than the blood. So they diffuse into the blood. And active transport. A small amount, small amounts of ammonia and urea are not are also reabsorbed. Sulfates, creatinine are not reabsorbed. Water goes back water goes back into the blood by osmosis, and all of you know the process of osmosis. Here diffusion and active transport both are the same from higher to lower. Osmosis is also the movement of water molecules from region of the higher concentration to the lower concentration by the semi-permeable. Now the filtrate becomes isotonic isotonic to blood plasma. Clear?
Yes, miss.
Then second is in descending limb of Henle's loop. All of you know it is U-shaped. Henle's loop is
Yes.
U-shaped. So this is the descending limb and this is ascending limb. So in this limb, the filtrate flows through the Henle's loop, descending limb of Henle's loop. Due to increase in in osmotic pressure of intestinal fluid like intestinal fluid. So due to increase in the osmotic pressure of intestinal fluid which is present in the intestine, sodium and other solutes are not reabsorbed. Here not reabsorbed. Now filtrate becomes hypertonic than blood plasma. Hypertonic, less water, more solutes are there. And so it is hypertonic than blood plasma. In descending limb of Henle's loop, in this limb, the wall of ascending limb of Henle's loop is impermeable to water. That means wall of ascending limb of Henle's loop. The wall of ascending limb is impermeable, impermeable to water. That means water cannot pass across it, but permeable to potassium ion, chloride ion, and sodium ion, and partially permeable to urea. To urea. Clear here? So here also water is not reabsorbed because the wall is impermeable. Only it is permeable for sodium ion, chloride ion, and potassium ion, and partially permeable to urea. That means these ions and urea are reabsorbed here. Thus, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and chloride. These are reabsorbed. Then the filtrate becomes more hypertonic than blood plasma. Now, in the distal convoluted tubules. In this tubule, active, that means from the Henle's loop, this type of convoluted tubules, that's the distal convoluted tubules. And this is the Henle's loop. The active reabsorption of sodium ion occurs in the action of hormone aldosterone secreted by adrenal gland. Adrenal gland. In this part, active reabsorption of sodium ion occurs in the influence of or action of hormone aldosterone secreted by the adrenal gland. Some chloride ions are reabsorbed with the excretion of potassium ion and hydrogen ion. Water is reabsorbed here. So here water is also reabsorbed with the sodium ion. But potassium ion and hydrogen ion are here excreted. Reabsorbed here under the action of antidiuretic hormone. Antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin. Vasopressin secreted by posterior pituitary. And this reabsorption of water makes the filtrate isotonic to blood plasma. Then, in collecting tubules and collecting ducts. Now, filtrate enters into collecting tubules from distal convoluted tubule, where further reabsorption of water occurs. So here also in the collecting tubule also reabsorption of water occurs. Now the filtrate become hypertonic again. Here filter become hypertonic again due to the reabsorption of water. Again to blood plasma. Now the filtrate enters into collecting ducts through collecting tubules, which entirely permeable to water. Thus, a considerable amount of water again water again reabsorbed in the collecting tubules and collecting ducts due to the action of antidiuretic hormone. Then urine is hypertonic hypertonic to blood plasma. So some substances such as glucose and amino acids are reabsorbed actively into the blood by the active transport. So some substances such as glucose and amino acids are reabsorbed actively into the blood by the active transport, and therefore they do not appear in the urine. So in the collecting duct, in the collecting tubules and collecting ducts, filtrate is called urine. Filtrate is called urine. And so there is no glucose here and amino acid. When their concentration in the blood becomes very high, then they are not completely reabsorbed by blood. So here glucose do not appear in the urine, and these glucose and amino acids are called threshold substances. Threshold substances. So when their concentration in the blood becomes very high, then they are not completely reabsorbed by blood and then start appearing in the urine. So when in the blood there is high concentration of glucose and then they are not absorbed by blood, then they are excreted in the urine. Clear? And now here the renal threshold of glucose is 180 milligram per 100 ml of blood. And when this value is exceeded, glucose begins to appear in the urine. So in this diagram, all is given here in the proximal convoluted tubules which are reabsorbed here, and here also which is reabsorbed, and then here which are secreted, reabsorption, all are given in this diagram. Then remain our third, tubular secretion. Clear here? Tubular secretion. The process of secretion occurs in tubules. The process of secretion occurs in tubules, hence called tubular secretion. The cells of the renal tubule or the tubule of nephron not only remove substances from the filtrate by the process of reabsorption and then to the blood capillaries, but also excrete additional waste from the blood stream, from the blood into the filtrate by the process of secretion. Thus, secretion is the opposite of tubular reabsorption. So, this tubular secretion is opposite to what? Reabsorption, tubular reabsorption. Though potassium ions enter the filtrate from glomerulus. And are totally reabsorbed. Clear here? But they are also secreted into the lumen of the distal convoluted tubules and collecting duct. The active secretion of potassium is occurred with the active reabsorption of sodium is an by sodium potassium pump mechanism. Tubular secretion removes a number of end products of normal metabolism such as ammonia, urea, uric acid, creatinine, creatine, hippuric acid, penicillin, and certain other drugs and some toxic substances from the body. So tubular secretion plays a minor role in the human kidney. This tubular secretion plays a minor role in human kidney. But in animals like marine fishes and desert and amphibians whose nephron do not have developed glomerulus, so their urine is formed mainly by the tubular secretion. So except the human, the fishes, marine fishes, amphibians, desert amphibians have many more importance of this tubular secretion, and their urine is formed mainly by the tubular secretion of urea, creatinine, and mineral concentration. Now this is completed.